Welcome to the Mediocre to Magnificent podcast. I'm your co-host, Braxton Matson, and your host, Lee A. Williams, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in because you are what makes this pure magnificence. You are the ripple effect of magnificence, and we are going to bring you a message that will give you insight, inspire you, motivate you, and challenge you to not only grow in your magnificence, but let you know that you are magnificent in everything you do. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Man,
Yes, sir.
we're here.
We are here.
It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you. You're looking good too, man.
I shaved, man. Did you know that?
Yeah, you're looking good, man. Chris.
I know. Candace commented on it yesterday.
Like, wow.
I cleaned up, man. I would take my hat off, but my head looks a little big when I take this hat off.
Right. Make sure you clean up, man.
It does. It looks good. It makes me feel good. Yeah. You know? It makes you feel good when you clean up and then somebody like, oh, wow. I didn't know you looked like that.
Oh, no. I didn't know you could look like that. That's interesting.
Oh, man. But yeah, you ain't got these me horn, do you?
Nah, not today.
I was thinking about one. I'm gonna see if I can find one for next episode because I thought I had one. I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
But like this month, I feel like it's a lot about like goal oriented
Oh, you already
results.
know.
Like what do you want to do for 2023?
Right.
And it's a lot to take in, man, on the first year. But why is that? Like, why do we make such a big deal on the first of the year?
First of the
for that
year.
stuff?
I mean, it's just new beginnings, man.
Right.
People have a thing with it.
Yeah. But
And it's natural. It's good.
it's real good. I mean, it really, for me, like this year, it's been different for the past, this will be 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really like, oh, I'm going to do this. I want to do this, or I want this to happen. I want this. It was more about how to make it happen. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, how do the things that I need to focus on to get to the bigger picture stuff,
Right.
the small things, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because everybody always says, like, oh, I mean, and I could probably be guilty of it. You have to speak if you've been guilty of it. This is my year.
Right.
It's like,
This is my year. And it's like,
this is the year.
I was listening to an Instagram post, somebody, I forgot his name, but he brought that up, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's your year. It was your year last year. It was your year before that.
Yeah.
What are you
It's
doing?
been your year every year.
Every year. It's been your year.
It's been your year. Yeah.
But that kind of leads into what I feel like we would need to talk about to help people with this goal setting type thing for the first part of the year.
Yeah.
And it deals with really like how to embrace the friction or how to understand what friction can and can't do.
Wow.
And a lot of it, like I was listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast when he was interviewing James Clear, and I think it was before. I think it was like the later part of December.
Yeah.
And this is like a 2-hour episode.
Oh, wow.
Like they went deep into some of the stuff of what, atomic habits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that caught me was the friction that they talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I wouldn't say I'm in the boat on this because I think willpower is a big thing that can play a factor. But I really think it's kind of overrated. Like, how would you feel about that?
What I feel about
Like willpower. Yeah. Because it's like
my mind immediately went to environment stronger than will.
Right.
So then what environment are you creating?
Right.
Even when you ask the friction question, I'm like, well, friction, do you create friction?
Mm-hmm. Or do you not create friction?
Do you make yourself uncomfortable in your current circumstance or situation, and that's a friction that you face.
Right.
You choose to face.
Yeah. So, like with friction, there's two sides of it. There's points where you want to create friction, and there's points where you want to alleviate friction. And depending on what it is that you are seeking,
Right.
depends on whether the friction needs to be there, like you said, or if it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Prime example.
Right.
Phones, like this thing right here, right here.
Yeah.
That
Put
phone.
it up to the camera.
That phone. A lot of people. Have you? And they brought this up on the episode. Have you ever like purposely put your phone in a different room in the house?
Oh, I just did it yesterday.
And then really think about how many times did you take a look at that phone
Oh,
throughout the day?
Oh, tomorrow.
Like, you know how people usually have their phone, like even when we're at like a restaurant or people are on their phone all the time. Like it's not interaction. Yeah. But it's even at the house, like when you have it close to you where you can grab it. Yeah. The frequency of you picking up that phone and just mindlessly going through Facebook or whatever it is.
Right.
Is different. I mean, you could look it up on your app, how many times you pick up the apps.
Well, me personally, the phone is an idol.
Right. Yeah.
Just so people know.
Mm-hmm.
It's achieved idol status.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
And people could like, oh, they not. Okay, man. You do what you want. You think what you want. It's an idol status.
Yeah.
I said I just left my phone the other day, like yesterday.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that I'm like, oh, man. I want to look at this. I want to look at that.
Yeah.
It happened. But I purposefully, like, no, this is not that time. I don't need to be attached to my phone. What did people do 100 years ago?
Like, really, think about that. Like 100 years ago.
And we don't have to, I said 100 just to like, okay, you know.
I mean, we could go back.
There,
we could go back what?
We don't have to go that far back, but
late 90s. Like, you know, I never had a phone until I was a senior in high school. Wow. Kids now got phones when they're in elementary school.
So think about it. So what you're saying, what's the friction that the phone's creating? Is it taking away?
To me personally, it's taking away something. For me, the phone takes away, in a sense, for me, relationship, like authentic relationship, one-on-one contact, like you actually verbally talking to somebody face to face.
Right.
That's kind of how I see it.
So you're saying like this has become your friend?
Like in a way, you could, yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean,
like, well, I wouldn't say the phone itself, but I would say maybe the apps on the phone.
Yeah.
And that was another thing bringing up that they had talked about. You know how like you go and you're like, oh, I gotta check Instagram, or I gotta check Facebook, or I gotta check Twitter, or I gotta.
Yeah. One
of the things like James Clear brought up that he actually did was he would, I can't remember which one it was. Let's just say Instagram.
Yeah.
What he did to alleviate or to slow down him always checking it, was delete the app.
Delete.
And every time you had to go on there, you had to install the app. Now think about that.
Yeah.
If you had to delete an app and then reload the app just to see what was on it, eventually you would not want to do that.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So in a sense, like the phone has created less friction on certain things that could be beneficial.
Yeah. There's a place for it.
There's a place for it.
There is.
But then at the same time, like there's certain frictions that you have to put in place to deal with certain habits that are probably not necessary or probably not benefiting you in a way.
So do you think even though it's designed to make you addicted, could some people be like not affected compared to how other people like, I mean, in essence, lose their minds?
I would think it really depends on the person. Like for me, if I look back 10 years, about the phone, I thought it was the best thing in the world.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then over time, understanding like, hey, really, what is this accomplishing for me? Like, is it really benefiting me in certain areas?
Yeah.
I'd have to say no. But the tool is like, I think it's what you want out of life. And is it able to help you with that?
Yeah.
But then it's also checking things that it's not benefiting you from.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to put the friction in.
The friction.
Like, you got to make it a little harder for you to do things.
You're saying the friction in this example is like clear, unload, down, offloading the app, not having.
Yeah, so the friction part, say you're spending way too much time, and you know you're spending way too much time on social media.
You know.
Putting the friction in it could be setting block times where you can and cannot get on the phone.
Only limits.
Set the limits. It could be delete the app, put the app on. I mean, there's certain extremes to it, levels to it, but that is introducing friction. Another thing was I was joking around with Candace about it like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So you know how I talked about us redoing the pantry and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And we have these bins. So they're like these, I wouldn't say vacuum bins, but they seal up.
Yeah.
Well, they got these bins now where it's like a lockbox. Like literally a lockbox. You can't get in the thing for a certain, like you can set time periods.
Oh, wow.
On these things.
Can't get in.
I'm like, man, well, that's introducing some kind of friction.
Yeah.
Like, say if you want to shed some weight. Yeah, I told her I wanted one.
Oh, really?
Well, you we need to get one. But the thing was,
you gotta put the
it's
snacks
not
in
even
there.
just the snacks you can put in there. You can put this thing in there. You could put other things in there.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's providing you a way to add friction. So the flip side, what about not adding friction?
Just free for all.
Like, what example would you try to do less friction on, or make it less difficult to do? Like if it was a goal or something.
Yeah. So say for instance, take friction away. My mind immediately goes to say, hey, you going to the gym is a thing. You want to get your movement in.
Right.
Like the night before, you need to have your gym clothes out, gym bag ready.
Yeah.
Have your water filled in the fridge. Like, that's my mindset of taking friction away. Like, don't have to get up and be like, oh, I got to prepare my water. Oh, I don't have my clothes.
Right.
Oh, I got to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So that, like, is that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would think with the movement side.
Yeah.
Like, it's having things set up to where it's less inconvenient for you to do something.
Yeah.
A good example, like, was brought up was, I think I read it on a blog or something. They had one of the ladies she wanted to do cycling, and I think it was like, it might have been either in the morning or when she got back from work or whatever, but she purposely had positioned the bike in the living room area,
right,
by the window,
right,
that looked outside.
Like, take your bike and go outside.
So it's like this layering of things that create this less friction.
Yeah.
To push you to do it.
It's like going to the store, grocery shopping. I mean, you say you're meal prepping.
Right.
You don't have a list.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what came to mind was the list. Like when we go grocery shopping,
you need a list.
If I don't have a list,
there's gonna cause some.
There's gonna be some issues.
There's gonna be some extra friction.
Yeah, man.
Like, why did the cookies and the cake?
It's like, why did we get this? Oh, because it was in the center of the aisle and it looked interesting to me.
I thought we were eating shepherd's pie this week. You're like,
I didn't see shepherd's pie. I just saw.
I didn't see it on the list. I saw cookies.
But that's, yeah. For me,
it even gets down to like minute things.
It does.
So like when you brought up like going to the gym and like laying out your clothes, laying out the shoes you're gonna wear, like all that stuff. But then behind that is, well, what if you're not that type of person that preps? So now you take it down to another layer. Okay, well, I need to prep this. So how do I reduce friction that helps me prepare for things?
What'd you say to that?
So what do you say to that? I mean, it really can get...
Yeah, it can get
deep.
It goes deep.
On some things.
And I think the deepness in the friction is discipline, man.
Mm-hmm.
So where you go with it ends up being like, if this is your year, like we talked about.
Yeah. This is your year.
This is your year. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not to say you haven't improved and you're getting better, getting stronger, whatever. You've had success, you have accomplishments every year. But this is the year, the way they say it, it's in the energy of this is the year everything changes. So let's just be real with how they say it. The thought process ends up being like, okay, you've been saying you're going to get up at 5 a.m. for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Yeah. 10 years.
Okay.
This is going to be the year that you get up.
This is going to be the year that you're going to do it.
And you're going to get up at, set an alarm, 5 a.m. You're going to be at the gym by 5:30. That's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
But you said you're not the planner, you're not the preparer, you're not that. Well,
let's start with that first.
Like, well, if this is your year, you're gonna have to cause friction to find out how to become. What do I got to do?
Yeah.
If you've already said you're distracted on your phone, so take a few seconds to set the alarm on it.
Right. I mean that's a good question. Like, how do you, if you're not that type of person, and you say you want to get up at 5 a.m., but let's say you don't have the discipline.
Yeah.
How do you get the discipline?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
like I would like to hear your thoughts on it, because I don't want to go right to like, for things to change, you have to change. So it ends up being what I think you have to make a conscious decision and say, no, this is happening. Because you, like, say you got a new job or say you got new management.
Yeah.
And they said, let's just talk for you. Hey, starting January 1st, new year, everything's changing. I need you here at 5 a.m.
Ooh, that'd be, yeah.
Do you make it happen?
Yeah.
Does the person that doesn't do it for themselves make it happen for their job?
Right.
So the only thing that I'm creating with that example is we'll do it for all kind of other things.
Right.
How many times have we recorded the podcast where we've met and it's been early in the morning?
Oh, yeah, it's been several.
Like, hey, we're doing it at this time because the way our schedule, our priorities, our other time commitments, but we're still going to get it in. Yeah. What made you become that person then? But then I'm included in it. That's why I say we will say, hey, it's time to make the friction. Put your gym clothes out the night before. Right. Hey, it's time to make the friction. When you go to the grocery store, have your list. Yeah. You come into work and they say, hey, yeah, by the way, you're 5 to... Man, I've been coming in at 8 for 10 years. 10 years. Now I got to do what? I bet you you could be the person like, I'm out of here. Yeah. You could be. You
could be.
I'm done. Quit. It's over. I'm not. But most likely...
It's not going to be like... You're
the first day that you're supposed to be there at 5 a.m.? So let's do that. If we want to continue playing the role play. Like, if you had to be there at 5.
If I had to be there at 5.
What would you do? What would have happened?
My mind goes to like if my job told me that I'm first thinking, okay, this is gonna be like
What time do you normally
Monday.
get there? What time do you normally get there? Let's just so we really create.
I normally get there at 7:30.
Okay, great. So
7:30.
now you have to be there at 5.
I gotta be there at 5.
That's 2.5 hours.
So let's think about this. It takes me maybe 40 minutes. Now the fact that I gotta be there at 5, that alleviates some traffic.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's 30
Right.
minutes now.
I still gotta get up
Right.
before I usually get up.
Yeah.
So in my mind, the number one thing is make sure I go to bed on time to make sure I can get up that early.
So what time is that now?
That's probably like 9, 8, 8:30.
I gotta go there. In order for me to get up to be at work by 5,
And then here's the
I
other
will not
dynamic.
be awake past 9. That's what I heard you say?
Right. I could, like, there's, I'd have to check it out, but really that's another factor. Are they starting this on a Monday? Because if they were starting it on a Monday,
Yeah.
then I would have, okay, I really got to figure out if I can do this.
Yeah. Sunday night.
So Sunday night, Saturday, like I got to try to like work this
Yeah. I gotta
to
read.
get it. I mean, like even law enforcement, like you were in law enforcement,
I was, man.
the shifts,
They rotate, man.
like you have to manage that every, like how many months did you do on
3
shift?
months it'll be you're on nights. 3 months you're on days.
And then you had like a time period where you would you even have a time period where you get acclimated to?
No time period. Like your first night shift is just you suffer.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
you get.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
You
like
can-
you
yeah.
get used to it, but see, that's what we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
What you create in the friction that's going to be for your benefit, that
Yeah.
stretches your comfort zone, you get used to. Every 3 months going from night to days, you don't want to get used to stuff that's not helping you.
Right.
That's going against the way you're naturally created, you're made.
Yeah.
But taking a list to the store,
Yeah.
get used to that friction because that helps
Get
you.
used to the friction. I mean,
Preparing your gym clothes,
there's a way. There's
get
a
used
way.
to that.
Yeah.
That helps you.
There's a way for me. The way I look at it is, you're creating. Like in my mind, I keep thinking about a wheel on hitting the ground and rolling.
Yeah.
Like you're like, let's say the wheel spinning,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like the friction is what gives you the momentum to move forward. But if you're spinning out, you're not moving forward.
A whole lot of activity, not a lot of
Yeah, it's like
Achievement.
worrying's like a rocking chair. You move, but you ain't going nowhere.
nowhere.
And
You know when the bikes with those big tires, man?
yeah, why do they have so many of those? What is that for?
Well,
Surface
I was
area
just-
for
I-
more
no, I'm just
friction to
saying.
get more grip or something?
That's the only reason why I brought it up because you said the biking
Yeah.
thing is like I've had even with having a 26 and then when all the on the scene came on with the 29-inch
Right.
wheels,
Yeah,
it's like okay,
like these are some fat wheels,
yeah,
man.
pedal the 29ers,
They're
and
different.
it's like okay, compared to if you're cycling with slicks, like
Yeah,
it's just a level of friction.
the more surface area you have on the pavement, the more
Resistance.
momentum you get. The more, yeah. But at the same time, I feel like going back to the grocery list, you got to create that friction to get the momentum to do what you want to do for why you had the list in the first place. But then how do you make it easier for you to make the list, to create the friction to get you moving in the right direction?
Yeah.
That's another layer to
I mean,
it.
with groceries, I would think it would just be specific questions like, what do we have? What do we need? What do we want to have? Or what do we want to prepare? And compared to what we want to prepare, like if you name a specific dish and you know the dish calls for X, Y, Z,
You know, that's got to get on the
You
list.
have to cross-reference it. Okay, does it make the list because we already have it?
Yeah.
Or
That's another layer.
we don't have it?
Yeah.
But you said you want this specific dish. Like, I'm
Right.
just being silly.
Oh, we go through it all the time. Like
But
we,
it's like, oh, I want spaghetti and meatballs. Like, okay, well, you look in the thing, and I messed with my mom one time with this, but she was like, oh, I'm making spaghetti and meatball. And I know my mom. I was like, so you got angel hair? Like, you got spaghetti noodles? She's or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not spaghetti.
It's a concoction.
It's panini.
It's like
it's
panini.
and meatballs. You know what I'm saying? Like you say,
Right.
oh yeah, we're gonna have, and it's like you get there and it's white sauce, and it's like, I mean, and I'm not trying to say that like that,
Right.
But if you were to say, hey, if you were to go to a restaurant and you ordered spaghetti and meatballs,
They're gonna give
they brought you out panini,
like, no, that's not what I ordered.
I mean, would you feel that way?
I would feel that way.
So then when you go to the store and you say, hey, I'm making spaghetti and meatballs, you don't have angel hair. You don't have the spaghetti noodle. What do you got? What makes the list?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the list.
Right.
You say I'm making spaghetti and meatballs, no meatball. Well,
Making spaghetti.
Yes. Like you gotta either get meatballs or you gotta get ground beef and make meatballs.
I feel like that goes to like level of detail.
Yeah.
How detailed do you want it to be?
Yeah.
And some people, it's not that detailed for them. Like they just simple stuff. You know, going to like we could do grocery lists like Candace would weekly. Just write down stuff. What we gotta have. What do we want to have for a meal? We'll ask the kids. You know, that's one of the harder things is asking the kids. Like, what would they want to have for lunch? And stuff. And it's part of that is okay. That's a friction part. We're having issues with not. They don't have a lunch because they're not telling us what they want or what they would like to have.
Yeah.
Okay, well then how do you alleviate that friction so you can make it a lot easier to get the list?
How do you?
Some of it involves, you know, being a little bit more direct. And be like,
I mean,
hey,
do you? It's like,
if you don't get this,
say for it in this instance, like say your child's go-to is like peanut butter and jelly.
mm-hmm.
So like,
PB&J.
Just say like, okay, you add what do you want? They didn't tell you, and then it's like, do you get in your head weird about it, or you just go to the go-to? Like, well, you didn't tell me, so I got you something I know you liked.
It's more the go-to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just saying that for.
Yeah, that would be
another reason.
And that's another like, okay, well, do you know what the go-to is? Do you know what their go-to is?
And the reason why I brought that up is so say for instance like your go-to is not making a list.
Yeah.
Your go-to is not setting your gym bag out. Your go-to is not setting the alarm. Your go-to,
right.
Yeah, whatever.
It's like you said, you're going back. You're comfortable.
Right.
The norm.
And then, but this is your year.
Yeah.
But you've seen what your go-to,
and it's not working. Like your go-to
is not
going to help you out.
So the same way, like, how do you create? If like, let's do the other extreme. If your job said, hey, I don't want you here till 11 a.m.
Oh, wow.
You're working 11 to 7 now.
That's weird. That just feels weird.
And I mean, I might be doing this for multiple reasons. But anyway, I'm intentional. But your job tells you, hey, 11 to 7. You do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it gets done.
Yeah, it gets done.
So whatever that is, you can't say you don't have it.
Yeah.
You have it. So how do you create it with you being the outside influence?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having other outside influence.
Yeah.
Like, instead of it being external, it's internal.
Yeah.
Like, the same way you turn it off, like, you're like, man, Monday morning I don't go into 11. What do those other hours look like?
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing that came to my head. Well, if I got to go in, like, if that has to happen,
11 to 7, huh?
11 to 7, how do I utilize that window?
Do you sleep till 7?
Right. I'm like, no. It's like, no.
for 10 years, like you
Right.
see, I would keep messing around.
Like what?
For
Like you said,
10
I'm getting
years.
up at 5. Oh, you getting up at 5, so you've got what? How many more hours before you even got to be to work? So what are you going to use those hours for?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
No, like literally, like say if you were the 8 person,
Mm-hmm.
you say, "Oh, I get up at this time," but now your shift's 11 to 7. So you didn't say even for the early shift, having to be there at 5, you wouldn't go to bed till 9. So you get off at 7. So 2 hours still, you could still get up on that 9. Oh, I'm going to bed at 9 to get up to be at work by 5. But what are you getting up to work for?
Yeah.
Are you getting to work up on
The reason.
your future,
The
your
reason.
business, your goals, your aspiration, your purpose? Or are you going to sleep in and be like, oh, I don't have to be to work till 7? You better cause some friction
Yeah.
and say, no, like, I'm going to take this as an opportunity, and from 5 until 10, 5 hours,
Mm.
I'm going to treat my business like it's a part-time job.
Right. Yeah.
So one day somebody won't come in and tell me, oh yeah, by the way, you're going on nights.
Mm-hmm.
We just got a new contract and we need somebody to work. Look, what if they said that? What if they came in and said, hey, we got a big contract, we got a lot of equipment, industrial kitchen. I mean,
Right,
I'm speaking
yeah.
your language. And they need somebody on from 10 to 7 to make sure nothing happens, that if something does, that we have somebody on staff there that can respond and take care of the situation. And you're the guy.
Yeah.
But if you haven't caused any friction in your life,
I feel like if you haven't caused friction in your life, like that, what was it, 9 to 7 or whatever?
yeah, whatever.
That's what you're focused on.
Yeah.
Like you're not focused on anything else. You're just focused on the 9 to 7, not the big picture.
And then you just adapt everything
Right.
to fit in that.
Fit that. Like,
And
oh, I
the
gotta
only
make it
reason
fit.
why- and-
I gotta make it fit that.
And,
it's
the reason why I can speak this language is because
you've been there.
I worked in my own
Yeah.
business before. And it's like,
Done it.
oh yeah, we're going to permanent nights. Like we're not rotating no more.
Wow.
One share, oh we're gonna go to 8-hour shift. Oh, okay. Oh, we're going back to, and we're gonna rotate every 4 months instead of 3 months. And people be like, man, if we start that, man, the way the holidays fall, every holiday we're gonna work this year, and the other team is gonna get everyone off. Man, this is crap. I mean,
Right. I mean, you think about that. You can't tell me that they wouldn't think about that. But they're focusing on that the whole time. Like, it's not, how do you adjust?
right.
How do you make the adjustment?
How do you make the adjustment?
Or how do you create the right friction?
So did we do a good job of like? Okay, yeah, I think so. Because we made because I just want to make sure we did a good job of like, we said what creating friction looks like.
Yeah.
But with that creating friction, I just wanted to make sure that what does taking friction away look like.
Yeah, I feel
But
like
that,
we need...
But that
Yeah.
the list does, the prep does, the gym bag
Yeah.
prep, you.
That's reducing the friction.
Yeah. Being disciplined, getting up at the 5 a.m. if that's your thing, to be able to prepare yourself for it. So, heck, is there something I could be working on to further my endeavors?
Mm-hmm.
So that is like, because, we're causing friction, but what does taking it away look like to make sure we really drove that home for people?
And the thing, it kind of goes back for me, habits. And the way James Clear puts it, and a lot of people put it, is your habits. You can't just get rid of a habit. You have to replace it with something.
Mm-hmm.
And where the friction comes into play is sometimes you want to add the friction or make it difficult for something or a habit or that doesn't serve you. You want to create that friction to where that's no longer going to be a factor, but then you want to make sure you have something in place of that. And when you it's almost like when you flip the gear, you want that to be frictionless. So how do you make this difficult thing turn over to a habit that's good? but make it easier for you to do that. Then once you do that, it can be uncomfortable. Like it really can with even when you reduce friction, it can be a little uncomfortable because it's different. You haven't done it before.
That's what I was thinking. Just with time alone, like even with the crappy shift, you like how I told you, like, man, how do you go from night to day? Like the first day just sucks, and you know what to expect.
But then it changes. But then that's when you want to try to flip the switch again to add friction to push it further.
Yeah.
And that's how I would see it in a way.
Yeah, man.
You know.
Friction, man.
It's important. Important to understand it.
Yeah, man.
And use it, not use it. But yeah.
I like
friction.
It, man. Yeah, man. So yeah. Use it, man.
Use it to your advantage.
Create it. Right?
Yeah. Create it.
I mean, there's some people that's not satisfied, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people that's, quite frankly, accepting mediocrity. You got to implement some friction. Like, hey, what's going to push me out of my comfort zone to help me achieve that magnificence that I said, this is my year? So, yeah, that's what we're talking about, man.
Exactly.
Till next time.
This is your co-host here, Braxton Matson, and Lee and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we did making it, but we couldn't do it without you. So please hit that like button, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what topic or subject that you would like us to talk about in your journey from mediocre to magnificent. But most of all, share it. Be the ripple effect of magnificence and know that you are magnificent in everything you do. Till next time.